Hi, welcome to another episode of Speak Podcast. This is your host, Angela Gabriel Bakang. And friends, today our episode is actually extra special because our guest isn't just a respected academic leader. She also happens to be one of my mentors in the university grad school, right, Ma'am
Yeah.
Calumpang? So, ladies and gentlemen, joining us today here on today's episode is the Dean of the College of Education, Dr. Erlinda Calumpang, a woman I deeply admire for her wisdom, discipline, and that commanding presence that keeps most of us students on our toes, but in the best way possible. Kanang on our toes, mamakatawa, nagyukulana, because we have so many memories in our class, no? And yes, ladies and gentlemen, today we'll get to know the person behind the authority, the educator, the leader, and most of all, the inspiration. So, ma'am, Erlene, let's get started.
Yeah. Thank you.
So for a start, Ma'am Erlene, the teaching profession, as you know, is a dynamic field. So as the Dean of the College of Education, how has your idea of a good teacher changed over the years?
We all understand that the the traditional way of looking at a teacher has evolved, especially at this time when technology is helping or trying to, influence the way our students learn,
True.
so that teachers at this time tend to be adaptive to the kind of students we have. Also, our students are very conscious of their rights.
Yes,
I remember
totally
when,
agree.
yeah, I remember when I first taught that was 40 years ago, or almost 40 years ago. We can discipline a child in the class, and
Yes.
nobody would question us. But this time, you have to be extra careful with the way you reprimand them, the words that you will use, and your class has to be very dynamic. We cannot let our students anymore like sit down properly, feet on the floor, hands on your lap, then eyes straight to me. No longer that time,
Even
because
the dress code.
even the dress code, no more uniform. They can wear the dress they like. They can sit down the way they would want. Although at the College of Education we have some protocols,
Rules.
but that's basically how our teachers, the being a teacher now has evolved.
That's right, because we are producing future teachers, so they have to stick still with some of the traditional protocols that we have had in the
That's right.
past. Correct, ma'am. So, do you think teaching can still be a lifelong vocation in the age of technology and AI?
Well, I still believe. Remember that the artificial intelligence, even if with that, teaching still needs the human touch,
True.
and only teachers can give it.
So, yeah, pero tinuod, today, sa ato mga educators din ha, dali na lang yung kaayo magama og mga lesson plans, mga activities if we run out of ideas because we have AI to assist us.
Correct, but I think we also have responsibility. Like we don't actually copy everything. We have to contextualize things like what emotions we want to express. That cannot be done by the AI.
True. So dili yan gyud ta mo pasagad ra gyud allow sa ato mga ed students to be overly dependent ka ma-compromise na unya ilang reasoning,
Yeah.
critical thinking.
In fact, there was a time when a teacher was so frustrated because when he asked his students to prepare objectives in a lesson plan, he told me nga it was really AI generated. So I told the teacher nga you don't need to get angry because all you have to do is just to validate. Let the students explain. If they can explain, then well and good. But if they cannot, meaning to say something
Wala.
is wrong.
Yes, it's totally zero
Yeah.
understanding of the AI content. So let's go to the program's identity and direction, ma'am. So first, what opportunities does Foundation University open to our education students that give them an edge?
I think their exposure to our laboratory school. Our laboratory school is the Foundation Preparatory
Yes.
Academy. And the direction of the Department of Education, basic education now, is inclusivity, where we mainstream already students with special needs. And at the FPA, they mainstream these kids. So their exposure there would more or less prepare them to become one. Also, the school is technologically driven in their pedagogy. which I think is very important that they would also get exposed. While we do it in our classrooms, it's different when they really do it themselves in the classroom, in the authentic environment.
Okay. And kanang inana man ba, as the leader in the College of Education, what surprises you have encountered most of the education students of today?
I'd like to be very specific. No, not all our students come from privileged families and from private schools in the city. I think a number of them come from uh, schools in the hinterlands. Yeah, and what surprised us is they can readily and easily adapt to technology because we do it here.
Yes.
We have a platform, but they can do it. So that surprised us.
Yes, true. Because today, no, as akong na-notice po, ma'am, even in the public schools, you can already hear children speaking in straight English that pwede ko ka making this used to be the setting of a private school, but now even the public schools, mura na gid sila private. So,
Yeah.
technology, dali ra gid sila maka-adapt, no, despite the limited access when they were in the public high school.
Yeah.
Okay. So, sa imong na-notice, ma'am, what do these students struggle with the most when they enter the classrooms?
Um, we cannot help but we have to look at other factors. For example, their economic status will also,
Affect.
deter them or affect the way they also uh, learn, they also survive in the classrooms.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we have also students who are economically disadvantaged. We cannot uh, discount the fact that there are a number of students who are like that. So these are their struggles. And they are growing and they tend to compare themselves from others.
True.
And that alone, not all students are communicatively competent. And that is also a factor that will, let them feel insecure.
Pero as teachers, ma'am, giunsa nimo pag-motivate? How do you motivate your faculty so that they can still teach these kinds of students in a demanding environment?
We usually hold Wednesdays, the professional learning community session for the College of Education. And then one of the things that we talk about are their experiences in the classroom. I'm always very specific to them, explicit that no matter what happens, we have to set a standard. So, for example, if we say they have to speak English, then they have to speak English. So, if there are students who are struggling, then that's where you give your focus. So, and I think I am very blessed because the teachers, the faculty of the College of Education are very cooperative. I mean, I haven't seen a teacher who tend to rebut what I want. Because ako having been in the Department of Education for so long a time, I've been a school head and a supervisor. There are things that I have to prescribe because, as they said, the teacher sees the tree, but the administrator sees the whole forest. So, so I really prescribe and say, this is what you will do. And I am just so thankful that I have this bunch of teachers who are very open to suggestions.
Yes, and to think they are Gen Z
Yeah.
teachers. I agree, Ma'am Calumpang, because when I was your student in educational planning, no, naagi standard si Ma'am Calumpang that we really strive, not easily, no, strive a little bit hard to reach your standard. In fact, Ma'am, I remember my classmates before going inside our classroom, they would message me. I don't know, for some reason they think nga Ma'am Angela and Ma'am Calumpang somewhat because they work in the same university. So they would ask me, Ma'am Angela, I am tasked to report today. Okay ra ba ni?
Yeah.
They would consult me because they want to really not disappoint you. And sa among joke usahay, mahimo na gyud siyang binuang, no? Ang shoes kay ako mga classmates, ma'am, nga mo ana gyud silang patay na pud taani. Naanad na ko sa comment ni Ma'am Calumpang because to be honest, Ma'am Calumpang is very straightforward kind of professor, and she would really tell you what needs to be improved, even if sometimes murag makalitan sila, masakitan man nagway ko ani. But on my end, ma'am, as I have said, motivational anxiety, like ako mismo, bisag dugay na ako sa profession, Ma'am Calumpang, I really want to study hard in your subject because mura ko ni back to zero. Then na-motivate ko nga dili na ako binuangan akong subject nimo sa kana siya taas gyud kag standards, which is good because grad school naman good. Di ba, ma'am?
To my students, I'm sorry.
I know they are
I,
watching or
you know,
listening.
I wasn't conscious about it, but ako knowing myself, I'm very straightforward. I really speak out my mind. And in the class, I want my students to know whether it's good, it's not, it's correct, it's not. So I tell them straight. I know it might not be very good for others, but later they will realize nga, that's how it should be. You're a teacher. You cannot just say, stay at the neutral and let them decide, oh, sa to, correcto, daily, or what?
Yes,
Ako,
because
I'm
some professors
different.
are really lenient.
Ako, I
Okay.
cannot be. I tried to be, but murag dili kayo.
Yes, because it is out of care. Okay. Kung ato naman kung pasagdan, because we know we are very busy pod mga grad school students because they are school heads, they are very professionals, and wala na sila time mag-study. But with Ma'am Kalumpang, they really have to study like an ordinary student.
Maybe because the subject is not the usual thing they're doing in the class. It's educational planning.
True.
I also study. I also study my subject.
Yes. But ironically, ma'am, no, in the grad school,
It's a
a
chairperson
chairperson
of the
of
MAED and the EDD.
yes. So actually, ma'am, lenient manggug ka sa grad school. Sa ako ang perspective. But this is one thing I notice. You always notice something nga the rest of the panel, including myself, usahay di na nako ma-notice ba nga.
During the
Giunsa ni
oral
Ma'am
defense.
Yes, I would say during the oral defense nga, siguro sa experience ni Ma'am Kalumpang as someone in the DepEd nga 38 years. That's really something. So with experience, you can really spot something that others do not usually notice. And that's something, ganahan ko mo ask ni Ma'am, how do you do that?
No, actually, I'd like to be very honest nga. Before I joined Foundation University, I was a teacher already in the grad school,
Yes.
but I wasn't given an opportunity to sit down in the panel. To be honest with you, it's only when I became the dean and, of course, the chairperson of the MAED and the ADD program that I was given this chance. And I'd like to be very honest that I was, until now, I'm still learning. And because of my desire that I don't like to frustrate also the rest of everybody in the panel, I have to study from cover to cover.
Yes, you read
And
even the grammar.
yeah, I mean, sometimes maybe some members of the panel don't like it anymore because I tend to be very meticulous about things. But I'd like to emphasize because this is grad school, no? And if I don't emphasize, it might come out that at the end we still sign the study already to
Yes.
be completed without all these things being mentioned. But I learn. I am learning, Ma'am Ange, no? Actually,
Yes.
I'm learning from a lot. I take down notes, I research. It's very funny. I sleep, I even study as early as 2 o'clock in the
In the
morning,
morning.
to be honest.
Okay. And
And
is
I'm
that
happy.
okay? But
Yeah,
relax, sleep, or
yeah.
rest?
I take a nap for about 10 to 20 minutes after I take my lunch. And I'm very happy with the opportunity because I'm learning a lot from you. Because you've been sitting there, di ba?
Yes.
From everybody in the panel. I appreciate members of the panel who are, they are really very, very, how would I call this? They know where to spot the error.
Yes.
Ako, I need to study I need to read from cover
Cover
to
to
cover
cover.
to be able to connect things.
Okay, Ma'am Kalumpang. Let's go back because we mentioned this already. Your commanding presence. Okay ra ba?
Command.
Ma'am Kalumpang, no, she has this commanding presence that everybody around her would really be anxious. But on my part, motivational anxiety. But ma'am, with that commanding presence that students both admire and maybe slightly fear, let's imagine if you weren't in the academe, where do you think that authoritative aura that you have would have taken you?
I could not imagine.
Politics? No?
No, maybe. I do not know.
Okay, so
I
you
was
will.
asked the same question by mom, Cecile, in one of her interviews. If I were this, in the education, what could have been my profession? I really could not imagine. Maybe I was really meant to be.
Born to be in the academe,
Yeah, maybe,
an educator at heart. So is
maybe.
this what we call vocation? Calling yun siya.
Yeah. Because even at my age, I still love to do it.
Yes.
I mean, I have retired for quite a time, but I still love to do it.
Yeah, and Ma'am Kalumpang, also this is a true story, no? We have heard different testimonials from people outside of the campus telling us that they really admire and commend our ed students who are practicing in their school, practice teaching. So, how do you train these students, ma'am? Nga, work ethics wise, the way they prepare their lessons, they're always appreciated and admired outside.
Maybe because the teachers are very strict. Sorry for the word. Isugun ato mga teachers, no?
Sa ed.
Sa ed. I mean,
Wow.
we insist that they work on the standards. For example, when students prepare visual aids, we don't like them to settle mediocrity. Like, for them, it's okay, but for us, it's not yet okay. Kanang mitikuloso with ang teacher. And then another is, we subject them to student teaching as early as first year. The teachers have requested that their teaching demo will commence second term, not on the first term, because on the first term, we ask them to to practice deepening concepts, which is very important in teaching.
Okay. I can truly attest to that, ma'am. Truly attest because gahandol man ko rog mga education students like ilahag yun ang one section. And sometimes mo ask ko sa akong self nga, I set these standards from the ed students, but they always surpass it 10 times more. And I would even ask them, do you really have to invest this much in as simple as a visual aid? Ma-amaze gyud ko, Ma'am Calumpang. And I say, siguro na yung effect that we have our own school laboratory, which is FPA. And then when we distribute them outside in the rural setting, they are very ready. Like, tinuod ko sila nga educator. And with that, ma'am, mo ask ko, what legacy do you want our College of Education graduates leave in the community where they teach?
Let's go back to the life purpose of the university,
Okay.
where we want our educators to be responsible, creative. I always emphasize to them that when you are a teacher, that sense of responsibility should be there.
Yes.
I mean, you cannot just be a teacher and then not do your job well. So I think the legacy we can leave to them is, if you have chosen this vocation, then you must be the best teacher.
Wow. That's really heartwarming. And I'm sure our College of Education students are watching, and even those are students in the grad school. We have here Ma'am Arlene, ladies and gentlemen. And that ends our episode of the Speak podcast. Once again, ma'am, thank you so much for that meaningful conversation with you. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the Dean of the College of Education. Thank you for sharing, ma'am, not just your heart, but also your perspective as an educator and leader. Okay. And so it's always a privilege, ladies and gentlemen, that we invite guests here, someone like Ma'am Calumpang who embodies excellence and purpose in everything she does. So once again, to our viewers, thank you for tuning in. And don't forget, keep learning, keep inspiring, and always keep speaking up.